the first $10,000. The psychological secret banks never want you to know why 62% of Americans don't even have $1,000 in savings, even though they work 40 hours a week. Try a small thought experiment. Imagine you're at the gym at 6 a.m. Every day, you look in the mirror after your workout and see your abs gradually showing, your arms getting more defined, your back straighter. Your brain releases dopamine. You feel excited to come back the next day. That's instant reward, the thing the human brain has been wired to crave since prehistoric times. Now imagine you look at your bank account and see your balance increase from $847 to $923. What do you feel? Nothing at all. No victory sound. No visible muscles. Just cold numbers on a screen. And that eerie silence is exactly why most people, even if they're intelligent, hardworking, and have stable incomes, never build their first $10,000 in savings in their lifetime. This is not a math problem. This is a brain biology problem. According to data from Lending Club in 2024, as many as 62% of U.S. consumers are living paycheck to paycheck, meaning they spend their entire paycheck before the next one arrives. This number doesn't come only from low-income individuals. Among those earning over $100,000 a year, the rate is still 45%. You read that right. Nearly half of six-figure earners in the U.S. don't have enough money to get through a difficult month without borrowing. Why? Because they've fallen into what we will call the paradox of financial silence. When you earn money and spend it immediately, you receive a continuous stream of rewards. A good meal, new clothes, a weekend trip, the latest smartphone. Each of those actions creates a small burst of dopamine. Your brain records, this is good behavior. Do it again. In contrast, when you transfer $200 into a savings account, the brain receives no signal at all, no sound, no color, no sensation. Only the absence of reward, something the human brain interprets as punishment. This is why willpower alone is never enough to sustain saving money over the long term. But there is one detail that few people mention. And this is what will change how you see your entire financial journey. The real boundary between those who build $10,000 and those who stay stuck at zero does not lie in income, does not lie in discipline, but lies in the ability to tolerate boredom. Those who are truly wealthy, not the ones who look rich on Instagram, do not feel excited when they see their savings account grow. They have learned how to continue without needing emotion. They open their banking app, see the number tick up by $50, nod, close the app, and go make coffee. There is no cheering inside, no excessive pride, just calmness. And that calmness is the real weapon. The sign of financial maturity is not when you feel excited about your savings. It is when you do not need excitement to keep going. According to a 2023 study by Duke University, 45% of our daily financial behaviors are automatic habits that require no conscious thought. That means if you can reprogram your habits instead of relying on temporary emotions, you have already won half the battle. The first $10,000 is not built by grand decisions. It is built by thousands of times saying no to cheap pleasures and thousands of times choosing silence over stimulation. But here is something more unsettling. Even if you understand all of this, your brain is still being attacked from another direction you would never expect. And in the next part, we will explore the most subtle psychological trap that financial corporations have spent billions of dollars to build, a trap disguised under a very humane-sounding name. Treat yourself. The treat yourself trap, how the marketing industry has taken 38% of your salary. In 1957, a psychologist named Vance Packard published the book The Hidden Persuaders. In it, he described how American corporations hired psychoanalysis experts to design advertisements that target not your logic, but your sense of guilt. The book became a bestseller and caused a shock. People thought it was a warning. But in reality, those corporations simply read the book and refined their techniques even further. 70 years later, that technique has been refined to the point where you no longer recognize it. It has become part of everyday language. It hides in the phrases you say to yourself. I've worked hard all week. I deserve this dinner. I haven't shopped all month. I deserve this shirt. I'm so stressed. I need a vacation to recharge. Sound familiar? Of course. Because you've heard these lines thousands of times in advertisements, in movies, in conversations with friends, and over time, you begin to believe that they are your own voice. But that is not your voice. That is the voice of billions of dollars in marketing budgets successfully internalized. According to Forbes Advisor, 38% of credit card users in the United States admit to using shopping as an emotional coping mechanism. 38%. That means nearly 4 out of 10 people are using their future money to buy a better feeling in the present. And here is the most painful part. That good feeling usually lasts only 72 hours or less before fading, leaving behind a credit card debt that lasts an average of 14 months. You pay for 72 hours of happiness with 14 months of anxiety. That is one of the worst trade-offs in human history. But the story becomes even worse when you understand the mechanism of compound interest running silently in the background. According to a report by the OECD, only 33% of people globally truly understand how compound interest works. Among them, the percentage is much lower in the 25-35 age group, the group carrying the most. Look at the numbers. If you have $5,000 in credit card debt with an average interest rate of 24.37% per year, the U.S. average in 2024, according to Bankrate, and you only make the minimum payment each month, it will take you more than 17 years to pay it off, and the total interest you pay will exceed $7,000 more than the amount you originally borrowed. That is the treat yourself tax. That is the price you pay to feel deserving for 72 hours. But here is what few people realize. The treat yourself trap does not just take your money, it also takes your identity. When you continuously associate spending with the feeling of being deserving, you are unintentionally reprogramming your brain with a dangerous logic. I spend money equals I matter. I save money equals I am denying myself. And once that logic is embedded in your subconscious, every time you transfer money into your savings account, your brain will trigger a small signal. You are punishing yourself. No level of discipline is strong enough to overcome an identity that has been programmed incorrectly. The only way out of this trap is to reverse the emotional equation. Learn to feel proud when you refuse to spend, instead of when you spend. Use the metric of cost per use. A $1,000 bag that you use 200 times costs $5 per use. A $150 dinner that you forget after 3 days costs $150 for nothing. When you stop indulging the temporary feeling of deserving, you will realize that you actually deserve something far greater, the right to choose. The first $10,000 is not money to spend. It is money to buy back the right to say no to bad jobs, toxic relationships, and situations that force you to accept poor conditions because you have no other choice. But even if you overcome this psychological trap, the financial system still has another weapon waiting for you. And this time, it does not come from the outside. It comes from the very moment you think you are safe. In the next part, we will explore why people without $10,000 have to pay 25% more for everything than those who do, and what invisible system is constantly draining money from your account without you even realizing it. The poverty tax. Why people without money pay more for everything. There is a cruel financial paradox in modern society that schools never teach you, and banks certainly do not want you to know. Poor people pay more than rich people for the same things. Not because they buy more luxury items, not because they manage money worse, but because the lack of choice has a very real and measurable cost. According to research by the Brookings Institution, people without an emergency fund pay on average 25% more for the same types of goods and services compared to those with a financial cushion. This number comes from many small, accumulated sources that are very difficult to notice if you do not know how to analyze them. Let's examine it layer by layer. The first layer, the cost of urgency. When your car breaks down and you don't have emergency funds, you have to fix it that same day because you need the car to get to work. You don't have time to get 3 quotes from 3 different garages. You cannot wait, and the repair shop knows that. According to a 2023 study by Consumer Reports, people who do not compare multiple quotes pay on average 34% more for the same repair service. Urgency is not only expensive psychologically, it is expensive in literal terms. The second layer, the cost of buying in small quantities. People with money buy in bulk. People without money buy in small amounts. A 2-4 roll pack of toilet paper at Costco costs about 31 cents per roll. The same type bought individually at a convenience store costs 89 cents per roll. Multiply that difference across everything you use, daily food, household items, medicine, and you will see that people without money are paying thousands of dollars more each year just to survive. The third layer, the cost of credit. According to data from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, people with credit scores below 620 pay an average auto loan interest rate of 14.08% per year while those above 720 pay only 5.18%. On the same $25,000 loan over 5 years, the lower credit borrower pays more than $7,000 extra in interest. They buy the same car, but pay the price of 2 cars. The fourth layer, the cost of job instability. According to PwC, people with high financial stress are 2.3 times more likely to change jobs than those with financial stability, not because the job is worse, but because they cannot afford to wait for a better opportunity. Each job change under financial pressure often comes with accepting a salary lower than their true potential. When you add all these layers together, you see a striking picture. People without a financial cushion are operating their lives at a cost roughly 15–25% higher each year compared to someone with the same income but $10,000 in the bank. The difference is not what that money does for you, it is what it prevents others from taking from you. This is exactly why the first $10,000 is not a goal, it is a shield. It does not generate income for you. It stops the invisible outflow of money that you do not even realize is happening. A person with $10,000 in savings and a person without it when facing the same unexpected $800 expense are living in two completely different realities. The first person opens their phone, transfers the money, and continues their day. The second person loses sleep for 3 nights, calls their parents to borrow money, or uses a credit card at 24% interest, and that $800 problem ultimately costs them nearly $1,200 when including interest and late fees. But here is the part that should make you pause and think. Everything we have just analyzed, dopamine psychology, the treat yourself trap, the poverty tax, all of it operates on your conscious mind, the part you can observe and analyze. But there is another battle happening completely outside your awareness. And in part 4, we will go deeper into the neuroscience of poverty, why lacking money does not just affect your wallet, but actually changes how your brain functions, reduces your effective IQ in a measurable way, and creates a cycle that is nearly impossible to escape, unless you understand exactly what we are about to discuss. The neuroscience of poverty, how lack of money reduces your IQ. In 2013, a study published in the journal Science, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world, revealed a finding that shocked the research community. Chronic financial stress is equivalent to losing 13 IQ points. 13 points. To give you a sense of scale, that is roughly the same impact as losing an entire night of sleep. That means a capable, intelligent person who is constantly worried about money is operating their brain at a significantly reduced level compared to their true potential. What is the mechanism behind this? According to researchers Sendil Mullainathan from Harvard and Eldar Shafir from Princeton in their book Scarcity, when your brain is processing an urgent problem such as, how am I going to pay rent this month? It consumes a large portion of your cognitive bandwidth. This bandwidth is limited. Every second your brain spends worrying about paying bills is a second taken away from your ability to solve problems creatively, make long-term decisions, and control impulses. According to Deloitte, 43% of adults in the United States say they feel so overwhelmed by financial decisions that they choose to delay or avoid them entirely. Psychology calls this decision paralysis. The irony is that when you need to make the most important financial decisions, your brain is operating at its lowest efficiency. This is the toxic cycle. Worry about money, reduce decision quality, worse financial decisions, more worry about money. And this is especially critical for Americans aged 25–40. This is the stage of life when you make the most important financial decisions, whether to buy a home or rent, whether to marry or not, whether to have children, whether to change jobs or stay, what to invest in. Each wrong decision during this period can affect your financial trajectory for decades. And if you are making all of those decisions while your brain is effectively missing 13 IQ points, the picture becomes clearer. But the good news in all of this is, that cycle can be broken, and it does not take as much as you think. According to a 2022 study by Northwestern University, simply having a financial cushion equal to 1 month of living expenses is enough to significantly reduce chronic financial stress and restore most of the lost cognitive bandwidth. You do not need to become a millionaire to start thinking like one. You just need to escape the survival threshold. When you have $10,000 in your savings account, something unusual begins to happen. You start to notice opportunities that you could not see before. Not because those opportunities suddenly appeared, but because your brain finally has enough space to see them. You begin to have enough calm to negotiate your salary because you know that if your boss refuses, you can still survive for a few months while looking for something better. According to a LinkedIn study, people with a solid financial cushion are 67% more successful in salary negotiations than those without one, not because they are better negotiators, but because they are not negotiating from desperation. According to PwC, financial stress causes employees to switch jobs impulsively just to gain a small short-term bonus, even when they know the new job is not better in the long run. $10,000 in savings is not just an emergency cushion. It is a ticket out of desperation-driven decisions. I want you to remember this sentence. Worrying less about money is the most effective way to make more money. Not because the world suddenly becomes kinder to you, but because your brain is finally allowed to operate at its true capacity. So now the real question is, if you understand all of this, the psychology, the traps, the toxic cycle, the hidden taxes, why do people still fail to build their first $10,000 even after knowing it all? The answer is not a lack of information. The answer is that most people are using the wrong tools. And in the final section, I will show you exactly the system you need to build, not to demand more from yourself, but to make failure nearly impossible. The anti-yourself system, the formula to turn $10,000 from a goal into an inevitability. This is the most uncomfortable truth about personal finance that no one wants to hear. Information does not change behavior. If it did, knowing that smoking causes cancer would be enough for everyone to quit. But 30% of Americans still smoke. You can know everything about compound interest, about the treat yourself trap, about the poverty tax, and still change nothing, because your brain does not operate on information. It operates on environment, habits, and structure. This is why most personal finance books fail to truly change readers' lives. They provide information and call it a solution. But information is not the solution. Structure is. According to Credit Karma, 47% of Americans aged 25-40 fall into debt not because they lack willpower or information, but because the extreme convenience of modern payment systems has made spending almost unconscious. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Buy Now, Pay Later, all are designed to remove friction from the act of spending. Every second of hesitation that gets removed is another dollar leaving your pocket. So the paradox of the system we need to build is this: increase friction when spending, decrease friction when saving. Let me give you a concrete 4-layer framework. Layer 1, complete separation and physical distance. Open a savings account at a different bank from the one you use daily, ideally a high-yield savings account with an interest rate of 4.5% to 5% per year, a common range in the US, in 2024, according to Bankrate. Why a different bank? Because when you need to transfer money from savings to spend, it takes 2-3 business days instead of being instant. That 2-3 day delay may not sound like much, but according to research from the University of Chicago, 75% of impulsive spending decisions are abandoned if the buyer has to wait 48 hours. Layer 2. Full automation and decision removal. Set up an automatic transfer immediately after you receive your paycheck, not at the end of the month, not when there's money left. Immediately after you get paid. The golden rule: pay yourself first. How much? According to the 50-30-20 rule popularized by Elizabeth Warren, at least 20% of your income should go directly into savings and investments. But if 20% is too much to start, begin with 1% and increase it by 1% each month. Research from the Save More Tomorrow program by Thaler and Benartzi shows that this gradual increase method raised savings rates from 3.5% to 13.6% in just 40 months. Layer 3. Increase friction for unnecessary spending. Delete saved credit card information from all shopping websites. Remove shopping apps from your phone's home screen. Set a weekly spending limit by loading only a fixed amount onto your debit card. According to a study by the MIT Media Lab, adding just 3 extra steps to the online purchasing process can reduce impulsive transactions by 25%. Every second you have to pause to enter your card details is a second your brain has a chance to reset and ask, do I actually need this? Layer 4. Redefine your life's floor. This is the most important and least discussed step. Once you reach $10,000 in your account, decide once and for all. This number is your new floor, never to be broken. It is not a number to spend when needed. It is a number you will protect at all costs. Why does this matter psychologically? Because when $10,000 becomes a floor instead of a goal, your brain shifts from a pursuit mode to a protection mode. And according to behavioral psychology, humans are about 2.5 times more motivated to avoid losses than to pursue equivalent gains, a phenomenon known as loss aversion. When you treat $10,000 as something you do not want to lose, your brain will work harder to protect it than when it is just a target you are trying to reach. But here is the final twist, the one thing I want you to carry with you after you turn off this video. $10,000 does not change the number in your account. It changes who you are. When the events that used to keep you awake for 3 nights, a broken car, an unexpected medical bill, a leaking roof suddenly become small inconveniences that can be solved with money in a few hours, something very deep inside you shifts. You stand a little straighter, you speak a little calmer, you make slightly better decisions. Not because you are richer, but because you are no longer negotiating with survival. And that is the true definition of financial freedom. Not $1 million balance, not early retirement on a beach, but the moment when the things that once made you anxious now become small problems you can solve. That journey begins with the first $10,000. And the first step is not earning more money. The first step is building a system that makes failing to reach $10,000 harder than reaching it. That is the difference between willpower and architecture, between trying and systems, between the person who stays stuck at 0 and the person reading this who decides that today is the first day of the rest of their financial journey.